Day, June 5th, 2018. Let the record show that all commissioners are present. First item is the order of business. Mrs. Carlson, are there any changes to the order of business?
President Decker, I would like to add a couple reports. So after 4C, we would have 2 reports that I will present. And then also under Public Works, which is 7, there'd be an introduction of the recycling coordinator by Gary.
So we're going to do the introduction first on Public Works,
Yes.
and then, okay, so we'll move everything else down. Any other changes?
No.
Any questions for Mrs. Carlson on the changes? Hearing no questions, I'd look for a motion to approve the order of business.
Second.
A motion to approve and a second. All in favor of approving the order of business?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The order of business is approved. Consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda that commissioners would like to talk about?
I just had one question, Mr. President. On the authorization for the Grand Dakota Lodge, there was nothing checked on their application or what they're gonna do there. Anybody know? It was blank, so
Yeah, their activity.
well, it says, where it says activity be conducted, they don't have anything marked, like they do on all the other ones. At least on mine, it doesn't have
Yeah,
anything.
mine's not checked either on, for Grand
Oh.
Dakota.
Is that the Grand Dakota one? No, that's Army's West you're looking at. So Grand Dakota right here, there's nothing more.
Yeah. So do we need to pull that out and prove it at a different time?
Of July. So we could put it on the June 19th.
So they need it by July 1st? So if we pull that out, they'll still have it in time? Okay. So we need to,
Table.
table the Grand Dakota Lodge site authorization. Anything else, commissioners, on the consent agenda? The one thing that I would like to see, and we'll have this discussion coming up, for the mowing contract, I think we need to sit down with staff, Mrs. Carlson, and have our notification, how we notify people about their lots that are out of compliance. I think we need to probably revise that policy a little bit.
Okay. I do know that ordinance is on the list for review.
Okay.
I know it's on our list. So we can do that.
I think we can do a better job as a city with our notification, so. Anything else, commissioners? If not, I'd look for a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further questions or comments? We'll vote. Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mrs. Truscom?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The consent agenda is approved. We have 2 timetable items this evening, an elder care public transit presentation and a Dickinson, the CVB presentation. So we'll move on to the non-timetable. First item up is utility building outsourcing, and that will be handled by Deputy City Administrator, or I should say Acting City Administrator Carlson.
Thank you, President Decker, and members of the commission. In your packet, you had a summary from Dakota Business Solutions. This is the vendor that we are working with. It shows the cost savings per month based on average industry pricing. And then the worksheet that I provided you shows that we will be saving on labor and resources. And when you figure in the equipment and software package, we will actually be paying approximately $81.40 per month more based on the actual prices we are paying today for paper, envelopes, and inserts. With that, I'm saying that we included all costs, and this is where it's at, but going through the outsourcing, we don't have the paper and the envelopes and the inserts. This amount could fluctuate due to how many inserts we actually can do, whether these inserts are in color or black and white. And actually working through the Dakota Business Outsourcing, color inserts would be cheaper. When you looked at the worksheet, would be cheaper than the actual black and white compared to what we can do for toner prices and stuff. Equipment contract is about $123.34 in savings to the city. Utility bills will be an $82.12 cost to us. Inserts are approximately $122.63 cost to us, and labors is a savings of $470.80 to the city. And although we may be paying a little bit more for the process, we will be saving in time, labor, and resources that can be reallocated to focus on other utility billing tasks. This time we allow for producing, evaluating, and addressing utility bill issues such as reading errors, the final reports, the delinquencies, and et cetera, things that we just don't have time for right now. The ladies that do the utility billing are also our first line customer service ladies that are right out front. So they are a lot of times going back and forth between phone calls and doing the payments and this and that. And I put together what it would probably cost for a person to bring in, a full-time person that would sit in the back and do actual utility billing and doing these reports and things like that. And it's a whole lot more than what would be in outsourcing. So I'd stand for any questions if you have any, but I am recommending approval of this.
So from an end user standpoint, would you still come to City Hall if you wanted to pay your bill, if you had a question on your bill and needed resolution, even as far as updating names on bill, any of that?
Yes, everything would stay the same as it is now. Our customer service is our customer service portion of it. It is just actually printing the bills.
So it's all the behind the scenes
Right.
stuff, so public has no interaction with that? Their
No.
bill will just come in the mail?
Yep, they'll
Like it
still
always
get
has.
their envelope if they want to send it in. If they want to set up for ACH, that's all coming through customer service yet.
Have a question on their bill, they still call in
Yep.
to City Hall?
Exactly. They can still do the drop-offs and everything. It's just actually printing the bills. And to be cost-effective, I went through this process of what it would be to have a full-time and do it in a back office, finding space for them and everything, and what it would cost, to having someone else just actually print the bills and the inserts. And we do inserts, messaging, and things almost once to twice a month. And so, and that does cost, and that's extra time that takes away from folding and printing and things like that. We're outsourcing, you send a template in a PDF, they do it all. They do the printing, they do the folding, they do the putting it all together, sending it in the mail. And so you'll still get it on the same time. In fact, you'll probably get it faster. And then also with this program comes the efficiency for the customer service skills to be able to tell you as a customer when you actually should be receiving that bill. Or we can put out an email that says, you know, your bill is being delivered as of such and such. It has a GPS tracking
Okay.
service on there.
Perfect. And you can still come in and have your bill printed right here at City Hall too?
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Mrs. Carlson, if by chance there's an error on their part, stuffing envelopes or putting something in, is there a cost to us if they have to mail out an insert they missed or something
No.
on their end?
On any errors that they would do, say, well, it's our file that would be sent to them, so it's good data in, so that you can have good data out. But if there was an error, say that Carlson's utility bill went to somebody else's address, and in that error came across to the customer service girls, it would be no different than what we would do now. We would call, and they would just do the change on there, because we would send in a request to have it changed on the next billing and stuff. So it's the same thing that we would do here. So if we have an error, we go in, we change it, and then it's corrected for the next billing. There is no cost to that. It's customer service.
So if there's any errors, it would probably more than likely be generated on our end.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Sounds like a good thing to do, save some labor and time.
Yeah.
And we get more efficiency of reporting from utility billing that we've been wanting.
Perfect.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Carlson?
I would make a recommendation to approve the contract.
Second.
So we have a motion to approve with a second. Any further discussion or questions? Not, we'll vote. Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mrs. Trustum?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Contract is approved. Next item up is the, I'm gonna massacre this last name, Colin Banzinger and Associates contract, our search. And City Attorney Murtha will be handling this.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the commission. With regards to this contract, it was commented on at the last meeting that this would be brought before you. It is a professional services contract for the city administrator search. The contract cost is $28,500. You'll note under scope of services, we did request, and it was added to the scope to assist the city in reviewing and updating the city administrator position description as needed, and that came with no additional cost from the original quote. I have reviewed the contract. There was one highlighted area that just pertained to the contact person for the city. I'd asked interim city administrator Carlson if she would prefer to be the contact, and she indicated that no, it was fine for me to remain. And then there was a minor change to some of the insurance requirements from the last version that you may have seen. So we would be requesting approval of the contract at this meeting, and a proposed project schedule was provided to you as a handout with you. Those dates are flexible. They can be changed at the convenience of the city, whatever the commission wishes with regards to the proposed schedule, as far as if certain dates don't work. But if that is acceptable to you, I would request a motion to approve. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Any questions for Mrs. Murtha on the contract or the project schedule? Does anyone feel like the project schedule is too quick, or maybe we need it quicker? I feel like the June 22nd date is fine
Mm-hmm.
for the transition team to go over this, and then 28th they'll be able to submit the draft to us. So,
I think so too.
and we should be able to have it on everything okayed by at least the first meeting in July.
July.
So.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm definitely in favor of the September 20th public forum reception. I think that will be really beneficial to allow members of the community to come in and meet the finalists and provide feedback on who they believe has the best vision for the future of Dickinson. And that also gives us a night to consider those thoughts and hold the final interviews the next day. I think that is a really good process in terms of transparency.
Any other comments or questions? Not, I'd look for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
A motion to approve
Yes.
the contract with Cullen Bainzinger and Associates with a second. Any further discussion or comments? Now we'll vote. Mrs. Trustum?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Contract is approved. Next up, we have the Dickinson Public Library, and it is the Bartlett and West Agreement for professional services, and Library Coordinator Annan will be handling this. Welcome.
Mr. President, Commissioners, to start with today, I would like to introduce to you Joe Larrabee. He is the principal architect with Bartlett and West, who will be hopefully working on our project. We are bringing to you today the contract for professional services for the planning phase of the expansion for the library. I need to let you know that the contract that went out in your packets that you have in front of you has been amended. Some comments and concerns were brought forward by Attorney Murtha, and those have been addressed. Would you like to speak to that?
Just very briefly, Mr. President, members of the commission, there were three changes, non-substantive changes, just added for clarification purposes. For example, under the scope of services, that particular language hasn't changed, but the proposal has been updated to reflect the approximate percentage that the city will be billed for each phase, phase 1 through 4. The court of jurisdiction was changed from Burleigh County to Stark County, and in the addendum Exhibit A or Attachment A, changes were made just to reflect that the city is a public entity subject to the North Dakota Open Records Law and everything that entails with regards to confidential records.
So we bring you this contract and ask for your approval.
Any questions for Mrs. Annan? Not, I would look for a motion on the Bartlett West.
Move to
Professional.
approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? Now we'll vote. Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mrs. Trustum?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Contract is approved.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have, well, you wanted to do some reports, right, Mrs. Carlson?
Correct. So what I would like to report is that on Wednesday, July 11th, there is an elected official workshop schedule. You've all been given that. It's something that it goes over the open meeting and open record laws, governing board meeting basics, city budgets, property tax levy information, basics of municipal laws, the insurance, and human resource basics. It's just a good workshop, and since it's right here in town, I just wanted to make sure that you knew this, and it's through the North Dakota League of Cities. So that was that report. And then today, there were properties brought before the Board of Equalization and at the Stark County meeting this morning at 10 a.m. And per the Stark County Tax Director's recommendation to the Stark County Board of Equalization, the BOE changed all the values back to the city assessor's original assessed value following the Stark County Board of Equalization meeting today. Or hearing today. I just wanted to make sure that that was announced because the fact that it was just happened today.
Anything else, Mrs. Carlson?
Nope, that continues.
Any questions for Mrs. Carlson on either report? In the elected official workshop, just contact yourself or
Rita,
Rita,
just
to get
contact
signed
Rita
up.
and she will make sure you're signed up for it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move, there are no reports from public safety this evening, and we have about 10 minutes, and Mr. Kubis, we'll move on to engineering. We have a 2018 seal coat project.
you, Commission President Decker and Commissioners. An update on our 2018 Seal Coat project. This was a project we had received funding through the DOT, so it was opened through a DOT bid letting on May 11th. And this is a slight reversal from how the DOT used to process these local government bids. They would concur in the award and then pass that on to the city, where we would award the contract. Now they're asking for the cities to award this contract, and then it will go back to the DOT, and they'll concur after the cities awarded the project. So they have done some review at the DOT's level. They've looked at, for a civil rights standpoint, making sure they have all their DBE or disadvantaged business enterprise requirements are met. They've made that concurrence, so now they're asking the city to award the project. So when they opened this on the 11th, there were 3 bids received, with the low bid being from Northern Improvement Company at $546,216.08. Our engineer's estimate was $548,302.08. These construction costs, as is typical with DOT project, will be split 19.07% due from the city and 80.93% coming from our federal aid. The project was budgeted for this year and is within our 2018 street budget, which, as is typical with these projects, comes out of our 50% of the 1% sales tax. Staff and has reviewed the bids and would recommend approval. And with that, I would stand for any questions you might have.
I think we've noticed one small detail. Our share is 114,000, right? According to this,
According to their letter, yes.
to Mr. Kessel. It also says the agreement with the city of Devils Lake.
Well, I think we've had that slip up before in the past.
We did.
With the state. So, yeah, I guess we can send the bill to Devil's Lake, but I think that came back to us the last time too.
Probably.
So we'll make sure that that is
There's clarification.
clarified with the DOT. I'm sure they will send us our bill. But yes, 114,579 would, per the bid, is our local share.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Kubis on the Seal Coat project?
Make a motion to award the bid to Northern Improvement.
We have a motion to award to Northern Improvement
Second.
with a second. Any further comments or questions? We'll vote. Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mrs. Trustin?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Bid is awarded to Northern Improvement. Next item up, Mr. Kubis, is the Long X Bridge adoption.
Yes, thank you. The DOT is working on a project currently right now through their environmental clearance process to replace the Long X Bridge north of Grassy Butte, along with 4-laning Highway 85 from Watford City, I believe, all the way south to Belfield. And through that process, they're going to replace the Long X Bridge with a new 4-lane bridge. And with the historical significance of the Long X Bridge, they've formally advertised this for adoption and have reached out to several entities, local government entities within 100 miles of the Long X Bridge. Originally, they were putting the entire bridge up for adoption. It's over 900 feet long. They didn't get a lot of interest. It would cost plenty of money. But the State Historic Preservation Office pushed the DOT a little bit harder because of the historical significance of the bridge. And in your packet, the DOT stated all the things that they would do on their behalf to get this bridge adopted. And that would be the removal and the transport of a bridge to any location within 100 miles of its site that you see on the picture there. We did discuss this at our trail committee meeting because typically the use for a lot of these adopted bridges is to put them back in service as a bridge on a trail project. With the cost that would most likely be involved with something like this, even with the DOT's in-kind contributions, it would be significant. And the trail committee's, I think one word recommendation was reluctance in something like this. per the DOT's letter, there are 3 spans that they would put up for adoption. The longest span is, I think, 450 feet. We don't exactly have a perfect fit for a bridge that size, and as I wrote in my memo, we would anticipate the cost of putting something like this back into service to be 2 to 3, maybe more, millions of dollars. So throwing it out there right now, the DOT is not asking for a commitment. They're asking for interest from parties. So that date, the deadline that they're looking for is June 14th. So I don't know that we need to make a formal motion on it, but if there's interest from the commission, we can pass that along to the DOT. If there's not, we can also pass that along. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Kupas? If there was any place that the trail committee could possibly see a segment going, where would that be?
It would probably be somewhere on the Crooked Crane Trail around Patterson Lake. There's a couple arms on the north side of the lake that there hasn't been an exact route determined of how those water bodies would be crossed. They're both a little bit longer than the longest span of this bridge. They're 5 to 550 feet long, so you'd have to do quite a bit of site prep work to make a segment of this bridge fit that. But other than that, you know, our other water body is the Hart River, which the bridges we have over the Hart River are 180 feet long. So this would be much, much longer than would be necessary. So they have expressed to me that they've had quite a bit of interest from private parties, but public entities do get preference if there are multiple parties interested in adoption.
I could see a use, but I can also see an extreme cost and extreme waiting time out at Patterson Lake. Trying to get the Bureau of Reclamation to sign off and the Corps to sign off, and I think we could have another bridge sitting, waiting for a home.
I would agree with that.
So, is there any desire by the commission to adopt part of the Long X?
No thanks.
I would take that as a no.
Okay, we'll pass that along to the DOT. You know, it might come up again. I think they're pretty serious about getting this adopted by someone, so we'll see where the process goes, but we'll let them know that at this point we're not interested.
The presidential library.
Okay, Mr. Kupas, we have a few minutes. We have a Museum Drive property transfer.
Yes, so this was I don't want to call it a project, but a potential property transfer that we talked about last fall. And the commission authorized staff to engage a surveyor. And that's what you see on the screen, and what was in your packet is the survey that was completed. Again, just for some reference, this is the block immediately south of the Prairie Outpost Park on Museum Drive. I don't know all the history on it, but there's obviously private lots that front to the south onto 12th Street, and then a large swath of city property. It's not right-of-way. There's also right-of-way along Museum Drive, but this is city property. And there's been, over the years, some encroachments where people have landscaped, built fences, things of that nature, into this city property. Other people have built their fences on the property line. Some people have built their fences south of the property line. So if you drive by, there's kind of a mishmash of property lines. Some folks are inquiring to the city saying, we'd like to build a new fence. Where do I build it? It's really, it's kind of unclear here. So we have this survey now, a couple different options of how we might go about doing a property transfer. And that would be to replat the entire property. That would require not only the city to be a signature on that plat, but also these dozen or so landowners would have to all sign on the plat, or it wouldn't happen. So it's kind of an all or nothing proposal. That would be a, kind of a $0 transfer. It would just, everyone would sign and the property would be replatted. We could also do individual sales, but there's really no way we can force someone to take the property even for a reduced price that would be set by the commission. The third option really is just to take no action. Then we would still have these encroachments that we need to deal with. We treaded lightly for the last few years, knowing that there might be some other possibilities. But my next step on this would be to send out a letter to the affected or potentially affected landowners saying, we know we've talked about this with some of you, it's been phone conversations, but to formally, I don't want to say put them on notice, but say, here's where the city stands, we would like to do A, B, or C. And so folks that are looking to do some landscaping can move forward with confidence of where their property line either is going to remain where it is or where it might change to. So if we want to come back to it, I know we have a timetable here. There's probably more discussion to be had.
So we'll come back to this. We have the 5 o'clock, and
Okay.
we'll have a discussion about the possible transfer. Our 5 o'clock is Elder Care Public Transit presentation by Mrs. Rodakowski.
Good evening. As
Good evening.
Mayor Scott Decker said, my name's Colleen Rodakowski, and I'm the Executive Director over at Elder Care and Public Transit. And today, I'll be presenting the 2017 annual report. You received this in your packet, so if you had time to take a look at it and have any questions, I will entertain those at the end here. Public transit, on the first slide, is essential for individuals in our community. You know, we help people get around. Many people, such as the elderly, the disabled, those who are socioeconomically challenged, and we help anybody even has a car get around if their car's not working. So we're here for the community of Dickinson, and we contribute to the Dickinson economic vitality. In the next slide, I'm just going to jump into the income from 2017. Our largest income that comes in at 53% is our local match. Our local match in that area of the pie includes the City of Dickinson donations, our state aid from DOT, a mill levy, contracts, Medicaid, and United Way and other donations. The second largest pie is that agency income, and that's our DOT funding that we get through 5311 operating. And those are the most largest pies of us. Fair income is what we receive from the riders. And in the next slide, we have the income, a little bit more detailed, about a little over $1 million income we received in 2017. And here you can see those numbers I just talked about under the 500,000, $500,000 about from our local match and agency income. The next slide is our financials for expenses. And just like most companies, you know, you see about almost 672,000 about our salary and payroll. Most companies, that's our largest expense, is the employees. And the rest of the items that they're pretty standard. Facilities rental expense, I just want to draw attention. Those are also in that 81,000 is the building. Our building's owned by the city, as most of you know. And that's our in-kind contribution that your past city administrator, Sean Kessel, gave us a number for in-kind for the use of that building, as well as the utilities and that the city of Dickinson reimburses us for. We are very, very appreciative of the partnership with the city. We could not do what we're doing for the community of Dickinson without the support and the partnership of the city. It's critical to keep us going. When you look at the importance of transit, you know, we connect people. We have employment, which is our largest trip type. Medical is our second largest. Social events, shopping, church services. We are getting people around town for all of those types of events. And the next couple slides, I'm going to break those down for you so you can see where we're at. Since the oil hit us back in, was it 2011, 12, about, we used to have medical being the highest, but we've consistently kept at the work rides. Work rides are our number one. We're getting people to work more than anything at 36%. Medical is the second largest ride type, trip type. And on the next slide, we went back about 3 years to show you where the ridership has been from 2015, 16, and 17. Pretty flat, shopping and social, but you'll see those changes to medical and work that I've been talking about on those bar graphs. And this last year, we had increased in all of our, slight increases in all of our trip types. And the next one is just a comparison for elderly and disabled, the general public, the wheelchair. We are the only entity in town that provides wheelchair assistance with proper securement on our buses and vans. Kidney dialysis is a large, we separate that out because the kidney dialysis are very critical, that we always make sure we get the KDU people even when we're shut down with weather. I have a driver that's always on call, and if he's not available, another one will be. We'll do the kidney dialysis patients on off days, whatever we have to do to keep them on that schedule when we have poor weather. And then the Bismarck, we do go to Bismarck once a week. It's a slight ride type on there, it's fairly flat, but we do run those trips as well. Every Tuesday we go to Bismarck. Okay, the next one, there is a little typo, just ignore that bottom line. I think we accidentally carried over the year before there, and the increases will be on the next slide. But here again, it just shows between trips and passengers. We look in the transit world at passengers before trips because one trip can include 3 passengers. So all the numbering for that we get our funding through and through the National Transit Database, we always report the passengers, which will always be higher than the trips. Okay, this is the chart I wanted to show you, the bottom line. The rides from 2016 to 17 year increased 5.1%. And then if you look the last 3 years prior, they decreased all 3. We were decreasing after the oil slowdown, and now we're started to pick up again, which is really exciting. I want to throw in here that in December we did make a change to our fares. We were operating at about $8 a trip for the on-demand rides. We changed all that to the pre-scheduled fare type of 4. And we have significantly increased our ridership. We're operating around maybe about, I'd say, 140 to 150 rides a day when we were about 180. And so the rides have significantly increased when we lowered that fare. Plus, through our transit study that we did last year with Nelson Nygaard, we did a lot of publicity when we were operating that study. And we know that that has really helped us, so we've increased our drivers and our staff to accommodate that. In addition to lowering that fare in December, we also pulled back our hours of operation, which we've been talking about for a while. We're open now from 6 to 6, Monday through Friday, 6 in the morning till 6 at night. We used to be open till 10 every day. And it was really affecting our cost per rides because we're really slow in the evenings. And then on Saturdays, we're open till 7. And then Sundays, we're open from 9 to 6. So we've adjusted those hours through the Nelson study recommendation to help us become operating more efficiently. And we put those other shifts during the day to busy pickup times to accommodate and pull in more riders. I really like this graph because it's really, I don't know what I'm going to do next year because I've been here 10 years. And I like to see what has happened during my years here. And this just shows you a little bit how we peaked with the oil, and then we kind of slowly, we're down a little bit, and now we're going to be starting to rise up a little bit again this last year. And the next slide, I like to always, this helps me a little bit too when I look at what has happened to our business with public transit. And it's a nice little handout that I like to give the commissioners to show you significant things that have happened in town with the city, the hours of operation, the taxi ordinance that the city commissioners put in, and the effects again on where public transit is at. The next slide, successes. I have to highlight Rose Drake. She's with us today. If I could have Rose Drake stand up. Rose Drake was awarded the North Dakota, the entire state Outstanding Support Staff of the Year last year at Grand Forks at our Dakota Transit Association conference. Really proud of her additions and asset to our team, our management team. And I also at this time, in addition to introducing Rose, I'd like to introduce Erin Humphrey. She's the Assistant Executive Director, if Erin could stand. I work really close with these two ladies, and I tell you what, I couldn't do what I do without them and the rest of the team and staff at Public Transit and Elder Care. We've got an outstanding team that they really care about what we're doing for the elderly through our meal program, and to the community of Dickinson for providing transit services to the community. I have to refer to Jan Franzvog. He said this at their last Crab Crack event, if anybody was there. I was there helping volunteer, and he said, you know, the employees here don't come to work because it's a job or a career. They come because it's a calling. And that really touched my heart, because I thought of the staff we have at Elder Care and Public Transit, and it truly is a calling. They care about what they care about that support that we're providing in Dickinson here. The next slide is it's just our fleet. And we added 2 new fleets, or 2 new vehicles on the bottom. This past year, we added the Elk and the Fox. We name our vehicles to help the elderly and disabled to tie into which vehicle they're on, and that ties to our services. So we added 2 new vehicles. And then I highlighted the yellow, those are our buses, and the blue are our vans. They're meeting their useful life here soon. We have years of service and mileage that addresses when our fleets are ready to be replaced. I do want you to know that we're struggling with getting capital through the state, through federal funding, and that's a concern all of us in North Dakota in the transit world are concerned about, is replacing our fleet. We take outstanding care of our fleet. Dennis Ulmer's our shop foreman, and we take care of our fleet. If you see our vehicles, they're clean as we can get if there's mud and rain. But we do take care of our fleet to make it last longer than the years of service, because we're going to have to keep them longer.
Mrs. Rodakowski?
Yes.
I noticed the one vehicle, 213.
Yeah.
Is over 100,000 too, and it's not highlighted, is it?
Oh, yep, that was a miss. We should highlight that and move it up.
And what's typical cost of average cost of a vehicle?
For a van, I want to say about 45,000, and for a bus, 65,000. Is that about right? The new one that we just got. The Fox on the bottom, we just are going to be putting in operation here in the next week or so. It's a brand new Ford Transit van that costs us about 57,000, Aaron. I mean, it's kind of in between a van and a larger bus with better gas, and it's a different high top looking vehicle. It's really an attractive vehicle. We're excited to put it in operation here shortly. That one's when we just purchased at 57,000. And that does not include the security cameras. Cameras cost 3 or 4? 3,300 would be our security cameras. All of our fleet right now has cameras on it, which has been awesome that we've added that for safety and security of the drivers, the passengers as well. We refer back to them often. Okay. The next, just going to talk a little bit about challenges, and some of these are the same that I've had on the past years. I did highlight on traffic congestion. We are picking up in town. I think we all are aware of that when we're driving around, that there is more traffic. It has been picking up in the last several months. And some of the road conditions, I know last year Carson Steiner had asked a little bit about the road conditions. There's like 3 areas that did hit us. Rocky Butte Park is pretty bumpy, that area up in there. Heartland Home that we talked about last year. And then the trailer park behind 3rd Avenue Floral are challenging areas, probably the top 3 challenge areas that the drivers have to get in and out of, that I wanted to give you an update on. The next slide, I want to talk a little bit about elder care. This report is really about public transit, but our other service is elder care. And that's the service we provide meals, home-delivered meals to the frail and elderly who are homebound. Through an assessment process, they meet that requirement of our meals. And also we have congregate sites that we serve elderly age 60 and older. We have 16 meal sites in Southwest North Dakota and 5 restaurant voucher sites called Cafe 60 that we introduced to the state a couple years back. So those 21 sites are a challenge. These are the challenges we face with them, and actually the biggest one is keeping those sites open. we're challenged with some of the dynamics of the senior centers. The baby boomers who are retiring are not interested in that congregate meal at a senior center. That's why we created the Cafe 60, which is very successful. They really enjoy going to a restaurant to have a choice of a meal versus to eat just what we are required to feed them through the regulations in the state. So these are some of the challenges that we face, and the biggest one really is keeping those sites open and maintaining our qualified staff and volunteers. Many of our cooks have been with us for a long time, and as they, I had to tell you, they stay as long as they can. They truly do. Some of them probably want to retire but won't because they know the service is so critical to their small community. And as they are retiring, we're not being able to fill those spots. And that's where we resort to the Cafe 60 to try to at least provide a different type of meal to those people. Public transit successes, oh my gosh, number one, safety record. We really have an outstanding safety record. We have little incidents here and there, and I expect that, or we wouldn't be doing business. And maintaining the high quality staff and our level of training. We train once a month. And that's a huge success, those top two. The Nelson Nygaard study, we have already presented to the commissioners a while back on that, and I shared already what we've done. We've lowered our fares, reduced hours, and our ridership has done a natural increase, which is exciting in our advertising. And then again, I want to go back to elder care, just to tell you what's happening there. You know, maintaining those 16 sites and 5 Cafe 60s are a success, and we provided about 56,000 meals last year in 2017. And that's exciting. We actually used this last year. We actually received all of our funding through the Human Service Department with the state. Aging Services has a contract that we work under through regulation. We are using all the money, and we will be running out this month of it. And then we don't get reimbursed those extra meals. So that's exciting because for many, many years we were not capturing all those dollars, but that Cafe 60 program is helping us to reach more of the elderly. And then the last, I'm just want to touch on our goals. You know, continued commitment to safety and outstanding customer service. Those are our top 2 goals at Elder Care, and every staff person knows that. Those are the 2 things we talk about all the time. Maintaining competitive salaries and benefits to maintain our staff. We want to gain those business sponsorships on vehicles. It's the goal we've had for a while now, is to do some advertising to pull in a little extra match money. We are looking at different software options. There's a program that has we've been made aware of with another transit in the state that we want to research this year. And maintaining financial stability is always one of our goals. Something new that you're going to see for us this year is in the next 2 steps of that Nelson Nygaard study that we held. We are looking to do a name change, rebranding our name to Dickinson Public Transit. We want to put our town name in public transit so people they actually think of our town Dickinson in our community. I think that's a wonderful addition to public transit. So we're going to rebrand our name to Dickinson Public Transit, and then we're going to implement shopping shuttles, and that's one of the components we had in our study. We're maybe later this summer or fall, we will implement a series of shopping shuttles throughout the town to get people to shopping, and it would be, we're planning like a $2 charge. It would be cutting the fare in half to ride that shopping shuttle. The rest of our goals is I did apply through our grant our new grant for the state's going to come through July. I applied for 2 more vehicles because we need that to grow with the shopping shuttles and our ridership. And we always want to increase ridership. That's exciting for us. Continue to send staff to training and conferences to help with our training, increase our marketing, public relations. And then we want to research this stored value card for fares. It's costly, but it would beat what we're doing right now with punch cards and cash. To have a stored value card, if you go to any large major cities, you purchase the stored value card that you just run it through and get on to ride the transit. And I wanted to end with, why do we need public transit? I mean, why are we here? We are the only provider, as I said, that does wheelchair accessible rides. We're also right now the only one that we're aware of that takes Medicaid payments for riders. We reduce traffic congestion, eliminate some parking demands, especially downtown, when we're bringing people downtown for shopping and for, to the city buildings. And we keep members of the community independent, so they can get around and increase their quality of life. And the last one, critical future needs to sustain us is the funding. The next slide, please. There you go. Yeah. We maintaining our funding with the city is just a blessing, because as I've told you, we could not do what we're doing without the support. Our relationships with you, with the city of Dickinson, NDDOT, the community, all the businesses that we work with in the medical are very important. Retaining our staff and then adapting to new market needs through our study. And then the last area is what to expect from us in 2018. And conclusion of that transit study, you know, we had that finish in January of this past year. Do our name, buy some vehicles, shopping shuttles, and something else that we want to look at is a little bit of event shuttle service. We are not able to be a charter service, but we are able to take people to certain events in town, or take a group of people to Medora to the musical. Those types of things we can do by following a special regulation procedure to make sure that we're not competing with a charter service, and rather we're open to the whole public by placing an ad. And those are things that we want to investigate as well this year. I do want to tell you, I did put in for those 2 vehicles I shared with you. I do want you to know that I did also put in for some expansion to the public transit building. I was going to wait until we had more successes, but we're actually seeing those successes with our increased ridership. And I visited a little bit already with Sean Kessel's aware, and so was Linda Carlson. We met that I did put through a request through DOT. We would need match, of course, for some of those additions and a remodeling in the building. You know, I'm not going to get too excited till I get it, and when I get it, we can go forward. But sometimes it takes a couple years of applying, just like any grant. Just like our transit study, I think at least 3 years I was putting in for those dollars. And then when we got it, it was so exciting to move forward with that study for the city of Dickinson. We were a lot of work on that study, but we were really happy to partner with the city of Dickinson on that fixed route study, because long term, we have what we need through that Nelson Nygaard study to do some types of fixed route in Dickinson, and we know through the study that we're ready for it. But it's like $1 million we would need to operate something like that. And I want to go slow and steady and educate the public, which we would do through those shopping shuttles and event shuttles, before we would introduce any type of a fixed route. And then, of course, I have to have that money. I have to have the stock, the rolling stock to make that work, the staff, and the dollars to do a fixed route. So. Okay, and then the last one, elder care. You know what? Just new menus for our Cafe 60 we're working on, and then introduce an elder care website. We have a website through the North Dakota Senior Service Providers that we are on, that many people find us through that, but we're going to put together our own to help, because as the elderly are aging, especially with the baby boomers starting, we know that a lot of family members are seeking services to help their mom and dad remain independent in their homes as long as possible, and that is the elder care mission, is to help the elderly remain in their own home as long as possible. And that concludes my presentation, and I would entertain any questions that the commissioners and the mayor may have.
Any questions?
Mrs. Rodakowski, can you speak more to the shopper shuttles? Will they be a fixed stop system, or will they pick people up at their homes? I know there was discussion with a potential partnership with Dickinson State University, and even including it in tuition possibly. Can you speak to some of those points?
And those are true. All those are right. What we're looking at, there's a shopping shuttle that would come from like north of town through the Heartland home area that would make its way up to Walmart, and then another one on the shopping areas on the east side of town. So there's like 2 shopping shuttles, those 2 routes, and then the third one would be a DSU. We're looking at a DSU shopping shuttle. Those would run during the week, and it would be just one trip. So for example, if you're at the college and you want to go to Walmart, you would get on the shopping shuttle, and we would have stops all the way up to Walmart, designated stops at Nelson Nygaard planned out for us, which we can change to and massage and make it better as we're working it through. Get those people up to Walmart. We would let them shop for like 2 hours, and then a driver during that time, their shopping would be going around town, taking care of more riders, and then after the 2 hours, that driver would go back up, pick those riders up, and make the back trip back to drop them off at home. And like we said, that would be like a $2 a ride instead of $4. Dickinson State University appeared interested, and I did try maybe like 5 years ago, try to get into a tuition, when the students go into tuition to tack a fee on, and then all university students with their ID would ride free with us through the semester. Back when we worked at that with the president and the cabinet, they were still taking out money for the BAC. You know, they were still pulling out dollars from the students' fees, and they weren't interested in it. But we believe that they appeared interested at our open meetings that we held through the Nelson Nygaard transit study. And so that's how that shopping shuttle would work. And we would operate those during the week. As I said, it would be one route that each day. And then as we advance, we would get to see what the public needs, what does the community need, and we can make those adjustments to that. Anything else, Rose, on that you would like to add?
Why don't you come up, Rose?
Yeah.
Through the study, it was found that we can actually deviate 1/4 mile from the actual suggested route. So if you do live outside of, you know, a little bit off the path of where we're picking up, we can deviate from that for 1/4 of a mile. So,
You just want to state your name so the public,
sorry.
the viewing public,
Yeah.
and
yeah, my name is Rose Drake.
okay, and congratulations
Oh, thank
on
you.
your award. So,
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions?
Any other questions? I have, I guess, a two-part. The 16 meal sites that you're operating, in those cities or towns, is there a restaurant available if you'd have to close down 1 year in every one of those 16? And
I would think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
and to add to that, the cost difference. I mean, does your cost go up by running it through the cafe rather than running it?
Okay, that's really different for each site.
Okay.
Reason being is like bringing in a US Foods truck or a Cisco truck into Dickinson, they're here often. If you're trying to get a truck to Dunn Center, or you're trying to get a truck to Halliday, or to some of those other smaller towns, Mott, New England, it costs higher sometimes to do those drops. We have to kind of look at each one individually. Sometimes when you go to the Cafe 60, I feel it's a little easier because of we can regulate a little differently through the restaurant than through employees that are at a site. So there's good and bad to both. Whereas if you have a cook in a site, the community usually knows that cook, and they know that she's really good. He or she is a very good cook, and that also is a good promoter. But majority of the places where we have meal sites, there are restaurants available, or there's a bar that might have a little bit of food on the side, or a pizza place in one community. And the challenge to all of this is that we create those relationships and we kind of massage and change that menu because we want that menu to work. That has to go with the regulations. So there's a lot to the home meal program of regulations that we watch. But we think outside the box. We try not to close any site down if we don't have to. And but we also, I think the Cafe 60 has been a blessing for us because it also helps keep a restaurant open in that community because the elderly can come there and congregate to eat, and it pulls in more revenue for them through our program. Because the elder care program is a contribution-based program through the Older American Act. We ask for a $4 contribution per meal, but some of our seniors are on a fixed income. They need the meal, and they can't afford to make a donation for it. We don't judge that or ask, or it's there for the offering if you're able to give that $4. And that's where the subsidy monies that come in to help us run elder care is so important, to help us to provide that meal, because the Older American Act is a donation-based program.
Okay.
Anything else?
Any other comments or questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. And once again, thank you so much. I think everybody here, you know, even city employees, I mean, you guys all contribute so much to our community, and the commissioners and Scott Decker, your mayor. I know the amount of work it takes for you to give to all of our community. And on behalf of our community, I want to thank you for all that you do for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll proceed to our next timetable agenda, and that is a report from the CVB.
I am going to give you, I think when I put it in your packets, I don't think all the papers ended up talking on the So just please take that one. But what I will do, I'm Terry Thiel, Executive Director, Dickinson Convention and Visitors Bureau, and each year I come in front of you and kind of recap what our last year was like for us, and then kind of go over some of the things for this year that we're working on too. So in your packets, I did put some things as far as what a purpose of a CVB is. Some may vary a little bit in different communities. And of course, we're a marketing organization for meetings, for conventions, to bring those in. And we'll be working and are working with Clean right now on an upcoming convention coming in for the transit, coming here to Dickinson this next year. So we also work with tourism, creating marketing strategies for that. And public relations agencies try to get people for overnights in rooms. I printed off the annual report. We've done that now online the last couple of years to save some cost with that. But what I did do is also list what the North Dakota Tourism Division has found for some of their returns and how many people are coming in. This is 2015. They don't do it every year. But we look at $3.1 billion that was spent in the state in 15 and 21.9 million people that visited, $327 million in tax revenue, and over 46,000 jobs that are related. And they use different things with that, whether it's the tax department or job service and different metrics with that. We also do a lot of state partnerships with North Dakota Tourism, and also a lot of the different entities within the Department of Commerce and all around us. We work with co-op opportunities to try to cut down some of the costs that we would incur otherwise at a higher rate, whether it's on print advertising or online marketing when we do that. They also have got, they've also got the studies for where a lot of those marketing dollars are best used, so that we're not going into areas that really wouldn't make sense for us for those dollars. We work with group leads, all those things, so we're very close with those different staff that are at the state with that. I also put down for last year what the expenditures that were for food and beverage, and also for lodging. And so I used the food and beverage gross revenue. I did take out the 1% just on that lodging and added it back into lodging. So for the food and beverage, it was over $90 million. The gross revenue for lodging, over 18 million. So we're looking at over 109 million in gross revenue just for 17 in Dickinson. Those numbers could vary a little bit because of the tax department's collections and when they do those, but that's what they use for that. So then I did a breakdown too for what is collected on those taxes. So you can see there's quite a bit that is there, and over 8 million is given back, whether it's locally or back into the state for tax revenue. There is some that is not collected once we hit the 30-day period on overnight hotels. Those would be the taxes that are exempt from that. And we're looking at about probably 15 to 16% within the last year or two that is not collected with that. There are year-end numbers. Our room count is right around 1,773 rooms, and our occupancy last year was 42.3. Average daily rate was $75.51. The average rate really didn't change a whole lot, but it did go down in occupancy by a few points with that. So the next page you'll see is, again, going back to the marketing and what we do and working with those travel studies. And I listed out the states. That's what the state has on their annual marketing report, and then, of course, the print that we did this last year in 17. There's a few of them that are general awareness ones, like an ad that would be in the North Dakota Travel Guide or the Hunting and Fishing Guide. But what we try to do is use qualified leads, and I probably mentioned this before, where if you're if you have that publication, you circle it specifically that you want it, so we get those names and addresses. And then those are all hand gathered, put together, and mailed out through our office with that. So we have names and addresses for that. This year we have cut down on some of those. So digital, you'll see that. A lot of that is done also with the co-op with the tourism division, although we've used forum communications going into northern Minnesota, particularly on hunting with that also. And then we do some paid ads through Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And what we are doing with that is looking at a weekly post that goes out. We'll put in X amount of dollars, and that will give one message that relates back to all 3 platforms. And so each month now we're taking 2 to 3 weeks at a time, and then we're taking and looking at what is our goal in it, whether it's brand awareness in the winter and the fall, or now to drive that visitor experience. So in April, we did it based on the museum. And so we would take each week and have a photo or whatever, and then get all the metrics back on that. When it was the colder seasons, we were doing it on the things that were downtown in shopping and the places to dine with that. We have seen year to date visitation up on our website. So the monthly site visits are up year to date 4%. Number of people visiting up 8%. And then the monthly page views up 12% so far. And I think some of you are familiar, we've gotten a new website that we're very pleased with. We've been able to get a lot of metrics with that, and so we can drill down actually very, very detailed to who is using the site and how they're finding us. And we found that Google, just your Google organic searches like that, has really risen to the top. And so what we've done also, and we've worked with a few businesses in town, is that we've gone into the business directory part of Google and going on the back side. And we actually did it with the city website, the city Google part of it. And then we'll visit with Aaron some on that, but we're able to put in videos and photos right now. If you were to go to just Dickinson ND, off to the right side, you'll see information on the government site. But there really wasn't a lot in there as far as other promotion things. In fact, we had found a couple photos that really made no sense for Dickinson. So we pushed those out of there, and we contacted Google, and they helped us with that. So we're trying to help other ones. We've had Dickinson State University, and we're working with the Centennial with them. And so we're doing the same thing with them. And then we're also pushing a lot of their videos. And now these next 2 weeks, we will be doing that specifically going into other markets, and we're doing it, posting their videos and paying for that also. So the back end of anything with that online has by far taken over what we used to do. So you'll see what we did as far as the different social medias for last year, and that is climbing. So we do approximately 27,000 of the visitor guides that you see I've put in your packet here. They're put into the rest areas throughout the state. They're handed out whether conventions are coming in or people are picking them up, or we mail those out. They're placed at the hotels, and each summer then as we get going, those are repeatedly refilled about 2 to 3 weeks, and then throughout the summer. We do the tear-off maps. We've got the wondering what to do cards that are placed at different hospitality places, and also the magnets. We drive everybody back over for the website and things that they could do. We also participated in what was called International Roundup last year, and it was the first time I'd come into North Dakota. We had approximately 41 appointments in one day with people from Belgium, Germany, France, Ukraine, United Kingdom, Finland, all over. And so what we did was Julie and I went there and had one-on-ones with them and gave them our information. It was kind of just a speed meeting there. Following that, they did a Western North Dakota tour through the tourism division, and we hosted them over at the DSU Stampede Rodeo. So we brought them all over there, and then we sponsored and took them over to one of the local eating establishments. So so they start to follow what we're doing, and the state has a partnership within Montana, South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa for the Western experience. It was a legislative year. I'm on the executive committee and the co-chair for that, so we keep pretty close contact on what goes on legislatively, and then we help with the tourism division with their marketing committee meetings, since they cannot testify on behalf of themselves for increase. We come in and do that. We had the U.S. Capitol Christmas tree come back into town. It had been a few years with that. That was downtown. We set up some programs with that. We've now created a Dickinson local food card that we hand out to people. Everybody likes local flavor. We promote the other restaurants within different means of the guide and also the map, but we do have a specific card for that. We work with the high school leadership team each year so that they can learn about tourism, either taking them down the Enchanted Highway over to Medora. And then we have other activities too. So we have just updates for last year on there, and we also have some things as far as do you know that we do. Because there's quite a few things that we, a lot of what we do goes outside of our area. You're not specifically going to see it by design, and that's also with the tourism division for that. We have a lot of videos. We list over 70 that are on our YouTube channel. And then our meetings and conventions, that was listed. Now there's quite a few that are taking place that we don't always know about for day meetings or 2-day meetings. It all depends. But we did do a highlight of those. And then I also put in there, we recap each one that we work with to find out if our services were adequate, how the hotels are doing, and it's good feedback for our staff and also then back to the hotels also. I did do a list also, so it was some of those that you see on there that were definite for last year. This is not a complete list by any means. We have more that's on the community events on our calendar, but some of the ones that are coming up for 18, and as you can see, we're working out into 2024 and beyond, because a lot of times that's what happens. They don't take place. We work with them now, but it's to get them in for a couple years up and ahead of time. And we do a lot of free services with that. I also included financial information for you. One of the things we've got that I did hand to you was those goals. And as I said, I wasn't quite sure. I think our printer had not printed correctly. But we break that down to visitor sales, which will go back to the leisure travel, convention sales that takes place, and then also going back into what we do for media and publications. And then the last page will go back over to some of the community assistance that we do. There's a lot of different groups that we also do on a one-on-one for help with that. Downtown Dickinson Association helping with the website with that, different things. Southwest Developers, the museum center and stuff. Right now we're working on and creating funding packages for the museum center, so that we're working on the paleo side so they could do presentations for prospective donors, and then also on the history side, whether it's their photo collection or Pioneer Museum, Pioneer Machinery Hall, or up at Prairie Outpost Park. I also put in there the marketing plan that you see in here. There is getting to be less and less on the print. We would like to do a better cross-section of that, but given dollars, and we try to put that into what we do online with that. So you'll see what we do for the leisure travel, the outdoor markets with that, a little bit on the international, and then going into some of the online with that. So they're pretty well detailed with that. So right now we're starting to see, and actually probably about a week and a half prior to the Memorial Day weekend, we start to see people coming in. And I would have to say right now the walk-in's been a little bit heavier than what we had seen last year. The occupancy year to date, now this is only for April right now, is about 32%, but I have a running for the last 28 days and it's about approximately 47%. So I've talked to several hotels and a couple of the extended stays that said that they've been getting in quite a bit of business booked and on construction and some different projects. So we're hoping that that will continue. Of course, the Medora musical is going on now, and so that is obviously a big draw for us to bring people over here. The museum center has got a great exhibit that you guys have heard about, and that being open year-round has been very positive for us. We'll be doing some things also with some of the cab drivers and some of the different drivers that people are going out to the airports. We want to be able to educate them on what to tell people as they're coming into town. We haven't reached out to them before, but we'll be doing that. We'll be doing a North Dakota Travels video, so that will go online for tourism and also highlighting all of Dickinson. And then we've also joined up with the Roger Brooks Destination Association. We did that in January, and with that, we chose the 10 membership platform. So there are some within our community that can access that. The Chamber has done it, the Downtown Association. There's been a few more within city staff that have
accessibility into that. And I think some of you have been at the Main Street Summit, were familiar with Roger Brooks. And I've been familiar with him for many, many years. So I think there's some things that we'll be doing in the fall with Downtown Association. Jennifer Strange and myself are planning some things where we're going to have probably morning coffees, and we'll take some of the videos depending on what they would like to see for downtown, because there's quite a few of them. There's probably 20 some different ones, whether it's curb signage, whether it takes what kind of business mix you need, all different ones. And we'll be doing that and be able to host that, and people can come in, pick and choose what they'd like to see. So we're trying to get out and always grow from the bottom, and maybe behind where you might not always see us, but in the end, we're hoping we make a difference. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Thiel? Thank you, great
All right.
job.
Yep,
Thank
good
you.
presentation as always. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kubis, we'll go back to the property transfer. I think you had just read us the options that we have.
I guess I wanted to stop and just ask if everyone was kind of, remember the discussion we had, it was last fall. So, like I said, we've done the survey, expended some dollars through our engineering budget, in contract labor, to do the survey that we have today. The option again would be to do a replat. The pros with doing a replat is it would be an all or nothing, you know, and I don't know if nothing is good, but having everyone buy into this would be strong. We have a nice clean property line, similar to the rest of the museum drive, the city would maintain. The city would maintain the 30 or so feet that would remain, and then everyone else would maintain their property line. Of course, to get that many parties to all agree to one idea is going to be tough. I can't say what the odds of getting a plat approved with this many property owners, but it might be tough. The individual deeds, I think, would be great. The folks that may have been using some city property already, I think, would be pretty interested in making a purchase, where others who may have just installed a fence recently might not be. So I think we're going to get, you know, we'll still maintain those varying property lines, and it'll look kind of disjointed on the backside. The do nothing option, you know, is still on the table. Again, we have what we have right now. We would have to take some enforcement action, I believe, because we do have some encroachments out there. Some folks have complied with that when we sent letters out in the past, and some folks haven't. So I have a draft letter put together that I haven't sent, kind of based on doing a individual basis, offering this property up for sale, and need to visit with Attorney Murtha on the details of that and exactly what we can and can't do transferring property, but really needed the input from the commission to see, is this something we want to pursue? Either way, we'll have some more dollars to go into this if we do a plat or individual deeds. Like I said, the bulk of the work is done, the survey's done. Dimensionally, everything's is laid out. But again, we need to either prepare deeds or prepare a plat to move forward.
So we would maintain a 30-foot easement on the north side.
It's actually, I'm sorry, I probably stated that wrong. What we'd be looking at transferring is roughly 30 feet. It varies. The lot doesn't necessarily parallel Museum Drive, so it's roughly 31 feet. Like I said, it varies along the block.
Okay.
That would get transferred to the property owners to the south. The city would maintain 17 and a half feet.
Okay, 17 feet.
Yeah, sorry, I misstated that.
So like lot one would get that little corner?
You know, that's something we've talked about with the surveyor. Lot one, we would probably just not add that in. We would cut that little triangular piece. I don't think it doesn't add a lot of benefit to the property owner there. And I don't believe there's an encroachment there either.
I would agree that it should be all or none. I don't think you want to get in the business of individual sales or changing that line or anything. Either all of them gotta go or none of them gotta go. We'll just maintain it the way it is. And that it could force people to move fences back and in line and anything else.
Hopefully, there's no buildings encroaching.
I would, there's no extremely permanent buildings. You know, I think there are some sheds out there. There's some landscaping out there. You know, you might get some neighbors that encourage their neighbors to sign on to the plat deal. So it would certainly clean things up. I think once we get east of here on Museum Drive, we have nice uniform fence lines. The city has a trail on one side, but all the fence lines are fairly consistent. For whatever reason, this didn't turn out this way in this block on Museum Drive. So
Nobody knows the purpose of why we kept that.
I don't. This
Was it
was
supposed to be like a green area or something at one time? Or?
this was a plat that the city actually did in-house back in the interstate era, you know, 1960s or so. Why it was kept, you know, there is quite a bit of a grade change there, which makes it, you know, the value of the land diminished. You know, it's fairly unbuildable. You can landscape in there a little bit, maybe build a retaining wall or a terraced garden or something. But the value of the property is less. One, because there's really no legal access other than through those adjacent lots, and then two, they're too small to you know, parcel them out and make them their own standalone, you know, buildable lot. So yeah, I suppose if the city could, we could have parceled this out and made our own subdivision and sold lots off, but we one, really don't want all that access onto Museum Drive, and two, the lots are just too small to do anything with it. So my guess is it was just the grade that was there, so they left the buildable parcels as they are to the south and just kept it as green space on the south side of Museum Drive.
I guess the way I feel is if you could survey the landowners and get back with us with a report on that, and then we'll just table this consideration for approval.
So, and we can certainly do that. Like I said, we have the mailing list put together. We have a draft letter. Would you like the letter to go out with, you know, still with options and see where the property owners kind of fall, or as Commissioner Steiner said, to do?
Well, I don't like the options. I like all or none.
Yeah, I do too.
I do too.
If we're gonna have to
Okay.
maintain some and others, we aren't gonna go like this way with them over and this way, you know, nice straight line, perfect.
Yeah, and then if they all can't agree, then I guess then we have to go the route of, you know, enforcement of our line.
Because we have a straight property line out there on
Right.
paper, it just hasn't got built out that way. So, just to recap, we will send a letter out to all these owners asking them for their feedback or interest in doing this, and then telling them that, you know, our approach to this will be a replat that will require them to sign on to it. There will be, again, through a replat, we're moving lot lines. It will be a no-cost transfer. There will be some tax implications. I talked a while back with Assessor Hirschfeld. But again, since the property is what it is, it's unbuildable as a standalone parcel. The value of it is really lessened and really only has value to the people adjacent to it. So we'll refine that number a little bit, but I want to say it was you know, in the range of $30 to $35 a year, just kind of an off-the-cuff number for the taxation value of that additional property, because it is a good, you know, they're roughly 2,000 to 2,500 foot pieces of land that will be added to the lot. So.
Okay.
But thank you for that direction. We will get that letter off soon.
And you have some reports for us.
A couple reports, yes. The first one is a Title VI audit, and the enclosure that you had gotten was the letter from the DOT, and this was, I don't want to say a condition, but by accepting a $250,000 grant for the trail project that's under construction right now, it put Dickinson into a random audit pool of local governments, And lo and behold, in our first year in the pool, we were selected as the random auditee. So what it entails really is to go through the checklist that we filled out initially, certifying that we're in compliance with Title VI. And Title VI, in a nutshell, is just the part of the 1964 Civil Rights Act that says government agencies that are receiving federal funds practice non-discrimination. And so it applies to ADA, our hiring practices, and everything down the line. So that's been scheduled with the DOT for June 20th. Yeah, June 20th. It's just DOT officials, the folks that we work with in their local government division coming out, and we'll go through the checklist. If there's things that they see we need improvement on, we have 90 days to become in compliance with that. So, any questions on the Title VI audit? Okay, I'll move along. The last report was just an update for a joint planning and zoning and city commission meeting. We had reported on this to P&Z at their last meeting, but this meeting is scheduled to be in conjunction with the next planning and zoning meeting on June 20th. And it's a couple individuals from KLJ who had worked on the comp plan several years back. Now it's been 5 years since we've adopted that plan formally. But they want to go over a few things with us. And the individual's name is Steve Sletner. He's the main planning professional for KLJ now. And he wants to just talk about planning principles, getting more out of our code. And then I'll do an update on portions of the comp plan, some of the CIP projects that we've accomplished in those 5 years, and some of the subdivisions that we've approved in the last 5 years. So I think I've had a meeting with Steve. I know previously past Administrator Kessel had a meeting with Steve. He brings a lot of experience and I think some really good ideas. It'll be a pretty good discussion. He's got a short presentation, but is anticipating quite a bit of questions. I think we're trying to set aside about an hour for it. So we hope you can make it.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Kupas? Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll move to Public Works. Mr. Zuroff, you have wanted to introduce your new recycling.
Yes. First of all, thank you, President Decker and Commission. First of all, this evening, I'd like to introduce our new recycle coordinator. As we move toward our single stream recycling and working on the project, and that was discussed many times in committee, is we want to get off on the right foot, and we feel that doing that is to get the right staff, equipment, technology. And so tonight I'd gladly welcome our new recycle coordinator. If she wants to come up, if she would come up, please, Rachel Schumacher. I thought I'd bring her, ask her to come to commission tonight and introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Rachel Shoemaker. I'm the new recycling coordinator. So,
Rachel, I understand you have, your education background is in this field. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and what you bring to the table?
yeah, I have a bachelor's degree in environmental science and a master's degree in environmental education. So I thought that would be something that would be very helpful to a new recycling program. My focus right now is educating the public and educating the schools as well.
Where'd you go to school at?
I went to Southwest Minnesota State University for my bachelor's, and I got my master's from University of Portland, or University of Concordia, Portland.
Nice.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Welcome.
I do want to say she's not originally from Montana, but she did move here from Montana.
Yep.
So
We'll excuse her.
yeah, I did want to mention that, but we're really glad to have her on board, and already she's been a great asset to our team.
Very excited.
Welcome aboard, and
Well, thanks. If you have any questions, let me know.
we will.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Zuroff, you have the first item up. You have a GPS automatic vehicle location bid.
Yes. We had two proposals received on our AFL RFID system. And you will notice in your packet, we did read a memo to try to explain the difference between the two proposals that we received. Rarick Pacific did not meet the required specs. FleetMind was the one that met what we asked and in the proposal. If you recall, the proposal included a GPS, a routing system, some cameras, which we felt was important in talking to other cities and towns in the area. It's needed to make sure that the right material goes in the containers. If you don't monitor that, especially in a single stream, that material is going to be either rejected or you're not going to get any dollars at all for the material. It also includes a DVR, some in-dash displays that we feel it was real important. We did look at that system in Minot, and I believe we discussed it in committee. So we feel that's the direction that the city of Dickinson should go. One thing I want to explain is the original memo that we submitted had a cost of $69,332.25. But looking at the proposal closer, it did not include a couple things. Now, these proposals are by quantity and price. And so one of the things it did not include, we had a quantity of one of the generic actuator, and actually we need 5. So that would be $2,224 in needed additional equipment. Also, when we looked at this at first, we wanted to, of course, keep the costs down, but if we can host it locally, we can save half the monthly fee. Originally, monthly fee would be about $1,500. If we host it ourselves for the cost of $10,247.50, our monthly fee is $870. And it was discussed with IT, and looking at that, the savings are just a little over a year. So that's why I'm bringing this to you tonight, is we feel that hosting the software, paying that additional dollars of $10,247.50 will easily, we'll get that money back after a year. So any questions with that so far?
Any questions for Mr. Roth?
So the next slide, please. So the total price that we recommend for the commission to approve is $81,630.70 with the monthly fees of $870 for this item. This also includes some reimbursable expenses in the proposal of $4,770. Staff recommends approval of FleetMind, and I would sure answer any questions you might have.
The 850 or 870, what is it? Just customer service they're providing us with, or are they providing some additional updates or to the software as it functions? And we're just using this on our solid waste.
Just on our solid waste trucks
and the recycling trucks.
Right. It's for the GPS and hosting that on a monthly, or not hosting it, or having it active on a monthly fee.
Okay, so none of these will be on our snow removal equipment, because I know at one time we had talked about putting RFID locators and GPS trackers on our snow removal equipment.
This is not on the snow removal. If you recall, we did do a test run on that. Those EVLs are considerably less expensive. That is more strictly a GPS location. This includes the AVL, GPS, and the pictures that it will take and link it to the property owner as those cans are picked up. So this is just for the solid waste vehicles and just for the recycling truck.
In the original amount we had budgeted?
Well, the original, in that, we had estimated, I believe in that budget item, we had the, what do we have? In that line item, we had $255,000 for a compactor unit, FleetMind AVL. So that's what we had plugged in there. I believe originally we had thought this would be you know, more of that 50, 60,000, but not realizing that if we host it, we would save money in the long run. So that's, I guess, we feel it's worthwhile bringing that additional change to you tonight.
So by hosting, we're saving about $700 a month?
I think it was 15, yeah, about over $700 a month, exactly.
Any questions, commissioners? So in about a year and a half, we basically pay for it
Correct.
by hosting it.
So, are we gonna be over our original budget then with the compactors? We're still gonna be,
I don't believe so. Some of the original trailers came in, the compaction trailers came under what we had thought.
yeah.
This is a little over, but also, and I was going to tell you when we talked about the containers, is we did get a recycling grant of $56,000 that will reimburse our containers of $7 per container. So right there, you know, I think that's positive news. So you know, I think we're still have plenty of room. With that, there are some changes and challenges with the compactor in the Baylor building because of the way those are set up and how we are going to be able to drop that material in there. So we're looking at possibly a something to bring it up to the chute. We're talking with Fisher Sand and Gravel.
Basically a feed chute.
Yeah, so, you know, something to bring it up there. And that will increase it more than we had thought, but I still think we, you know, we won't be under the original proposed dollar amount.
We will be.
I don't believe we will.
Oh, okay.
Especially with the grant that we're getting.
Any other questions on the GPS? Now I'd look for a motion on this bid.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? Now we'll vote. Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mrs. Trustum?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Bid is approved.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Next item is automated residential single-stream recycling containers. Mr. Zaroff.
Thank you, President Decker and Commission. We put out the bids for single-stream recycling containers, and we got 5 bids. And if you are in your packet, if you go to the second page with the spreadsheet, it to me is a little easier to understand and read. You can see the cart costs per vendor that submitted. Only 2 of the vendors met the specifications with the sturdier containers. That was one thing that we really wanted to we didn't want to get 7,000 cheap containers out there and have to replace them within a year or 2. So we did put a mill requirement on those containers. So the 2 that came in was Toter and Schaefer carts. And only the Toter containers included a 12-year warranty and are built by a rotational mold system. The Schaefers actually came in a little bit under the Toter for a dollar amount. And we looked at those really hard. They did have a 10-year warranty, but their thickness is only on the part that you grab it. So they didn't meet, I guess you could say they met the specs in some areas, but the rest of the container isn't as thick as what we spec'd out. We looked at them hard. I know Fargo has them. In fact, we had the containers at the Baylor facility and let everybody be rough with them. And the Schaefer containers did not last as long as the Toter container. And I guess if you have any more questions too, Aaron Prouse, the solid waste manager, is here. But looking at it hard and looking at the dollar amount we're going to spend, we feel that with the thickness of the carts and the way they acted out in the field with the truck drivers, we recommend toter carts for 7,250 carts for $403,825. And that dollar amount is under our budget of $404,480. That's for the total carts. That does not include the other carts that we did put on this bid, which we do have budgeted under the that same line item of the compaction unit and the additional carts.
Mr. Zeroff, the 2,750 residential refuse containers, you're going to take that amount out of the recycling numbers, because at the end of the year, we're going to want to see the true cost of this.
Right, and I guess that's why the spreadsheet, and I do apologize to Commission for not splitting it up in the memo or in the slide, but you can see the recycling and the refuse difference there.
That's going to be about $100,000.
Yeah, and the refuse too, I would like to, I believe we did carry that over, encumber that from last year, those $100,000 in refuse carts that was encumbered over, and we did it together to get a better price, and I believe we did get a lot better price by bidding it all at once.
And the warranties basically, it's just regular wear and tear, right? That is all a warranty covers.
Maybe I'll let Mr. Prouse talk about the warranties. He's dealt with that more. I would say, if the container cracks, I'm not sure about the wheels on this bid or not.
Good evening, Mr. President, Commissioners. The warranty for the toter cart is a 12-year body warranty and 10-year on all other parts. So lid, wheels, shafts, any of that stuff is a 10-year.
And Mr. Zeroff did say that the toters are in Fargo, so.
Schaefer's are in Fargo. Moorhead has toter containers, so does Grand Forks.
Okay.
And
I was
Grand
just
Forks
worried.
just placed an order in March.
Just with the cold weather, that we're getting something that's been battle tested.
And that was what was close between the Schaefer and the toter. They're both used in this area.
Right.
They're both good carts.
I think it's a good question when he talks about the wear and tear. I'd find it difficult if they say that they were going to warranty wear and tear. So if you squeeze a container so many times and that cracks, is that something they're going to pick up, or are they going to say, well, that's your normal wear and tear cost?
That's actually normal wear and tear cost. If the can cracks due to failure of the materials, they will do a full replacement. Now, if we go down a street and we're having truck failure issues and we wreck 5, 6, 10, 12 of them in a row, then it becomes our problem for our replacement. But general wear and tear on the container is replaceable. We actually, one of the
1 year warranty?
No, 12-year
12
on the
year.
body and
Okay.
10 for the lid and the wheels.
I was reading 12 months. Okay, go ahead.
That's a toter warranty. The other manufacturers all offered a 10-year warranty. In 2010, we switched to injection molded containers. Prior to that, we had rotational molded carts, and the rotational molded carts are outlasting the current injection molded carts that we are using. Right now, we probably submit between 50 and 75 warranty claims a year on the injection molded carts, and maybe less than 10 on the rotational molded, which would be prior to 2010.
Any other questions for Mr. Prouse or Mrs. Zeroff? If not, I would look for a motion on this bid.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the bid. Make sure I get this right. On the toter carts.
Correct.
And that is for a total of $544,212.50. With a second. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mrs. Trustum?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Bid is approved. Mr. Zeroff, you have a street division truck. Not until The concerns not of the public, at the end you can. You can, whatever is not on the agenda, you can. Mr. Zarrow, if you have street division?
Yes. Apologize, President Decker and Commission. The last item I have is a street division 3/4 ton pickup. The pickup budgeted was with a snow plow. It was a 3/4 ton pickup, planned to have a snow plow package. Right now, we just bid the truck itself. We had 2 responsive bids, one from Red Rock Auto for $32,200, and then from Nelson Auto Center for $33,978. We looked at both of the bids, and staff recommends approval bid from Red Rock Auto for $32,200. I would like to say we did have a budget of $60,000 for the whole package, the truck, the snow plow, and some additional things. I reduced some of those costs and think we'll be able to get well under that dollar.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Zarrow? Now I'd look for a motion on this bid.
Make a motion to approve the bid through Red Rock Auto.
Second.
We have a motion to approve, and with a second. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mrs. Trustum?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Bid is accepted from Red Rock. We'll move into planning, and Planning Director Hadley, you have some special use permits.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, the first one is a telecommunications tower at 11140 34th Street Southwest. It's in the ETZ. It was approved a number of years ago, and they didn't build it, and they just had to go through the process to obtain the approval to build it now. Staff and the Planning Commission would recommend approval of this resolution.
Any questions for Mr. Hadley on Resolution 15-2018?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve a communication tower located at 140 34th Street Southwest with a second. Any other discussion or questions for Mr. Hadley? Not, we'll vote. Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mrs. Trustum?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Resolution 15-2018 is approved. Mr. Hadley, you have another communication tower.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This one's located at 640 12th Street here in Dickinson. It's an existing tower, and that tower is adding some additional equipment on the site, which required it to go through a special use permit. The Planning Commission and Planning Commission and City staff would recommend approval. Thank you.
And that is the correct special use permit, 004-18?
It is.
So any questions for Mr. Hadley on the special use permit and the resolution?
Move to approve.
Second.
The motion to approve SUP-004-18. And the resolution will be 16-2018. Any further questions or comments? I will vote. Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mrs. Trustum?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Special use permit and resolution 16-2018 is approved. Mr. Hadley, you have a petroleum storage in Great Lakes subdivision.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is SUP 005-18 up in the Great Lakes subdivision, which is an ETZ for petroleum storage. On site, there's going to be an electrical contractor that builds on that site here in the near future. The Planning Commission and staff would recommend approval of this resolution as well.
Any questions for Mr. Hadley on SUP 005-18 and resolution 17-2018?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve 17-2018 along with special use permit 005-18. Any other further questions or comments? Not, we'll vote. Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mrs. Trustman?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Resolution 17-2018 is approved, along with special use permit 005-18. Mr. Hadley, we have some final plats.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Prairie Creek, it's a replat of Prairie Creek, and it's second edition, kind of altering the existing alignment to some of the lots that were there previously approved. They're larger and they're going to more of a single-family product. In most of the subdivision, they are installing lights, and we will have a DA that follows with this. Given that, the Planning Commission reviewed and staff would also concur and recommend approval of this resolution.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Hadley? So I'd look for a motion on FLP-001-18. This is resolution 18-2018.
So move.
Second.
Motion to approve with a second.
Second. Oh, yeah.
Any further discussion or questions? We'll vote. Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mrs. Trustum?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Resolution 18-2018 is approved, along with FLP 00-18. Mr. Hadley, you have Lyons subdivision?
Yes, it'd be Lyons Forest. Thank you, Mr. President. It's another resolution on a replat. The applicant is replatting existing one large lot that existed and then a few other lots in the previously approved subdivision. The applicant plans is to basically build more single-family homes in those areas. It was approved in a PUD for a higher density. The Planning Commission and city staff all recommend approval of this resolution as well.
Any questions for Mr. Hadley on this FLP-004-18?
Make a motion to approve.
A motion to approve?
Second.
A second. Any further questions or discussion? We'll vote. Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mrs. Trustum?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Resolution 19-2018 is approved. FLP 004-18 is approved.
While we have Mr. Hadley here, do you have any updates on the theater?
I think Attorney Murtha does have some updates that she can share with us.
So we'll
We'll
move
get
into
to
the,
there?
yeah,
Okay.
we'll move into the development agreements.
All right.
Unless you'd like me to just address that very quickly. Or not.
Wait,
Yeah,
You
sure.
can.
I would just add that we expect that both the plat and the development agreement should be on the agenda for the June 19th. There was some additional modifications that were discovered that we needed to make between the preliminary and the final plat. And those are what Odyssey is undertaking right now.
Going through the process.
All right.
With regards to the development agreements, Lyons, the development agreement connected to the Lyons subdivision is enclosed. It contains fairly standardized terms for your development agreements. I will just note two things. One, there's a reference to the code section that requires the surety amount, so that is incorporated by reference in there, as well as if you go down to the last page, and my apologies, the last page is outdated, and so will need to be updated to reflect the new date and the different signatories.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Murtha. Any questions on this development agreement with Lyons? Not, I'd look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the development agreement for Lyons with the changes Ms. Murtha outlined.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? We have a motion to approve with a second. Now we'll vote. Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mrs. Trustum?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Development agreement with the amended paperwork is approved. Mrs. Murtha, the Worthington?
With regards to the Worthington, and again, I believe it was because it was a double-sided copy, and hopefully you received paper copies. However, the link to this particular agreement did not contain page 2. And it does in fact go from page 1 to page 3. The page 2, I'll just note that in addition to your more normal terms, there was a specific reference to or additions that reflected that the City of Dickinson zoning district regulations, including the corridor overlay, will be followed by the site development, that noise, any noise generated from the property will be in conformance with requirements of the city code, and that any lighting used within the property to illuminate off-street parking or storage areas shall be arranged in a way to prevent additional illumination of adjoining properties.
Any questions for Mrs. Murtha on this development agreement? Not, I would look for a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the development agreement with Worthington.
Second.
A second. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Altman?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mrs. Trustum?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Development agreement is approved with Worthington. We have no report this evening from building official Schwint. We'll now move into public issues of city concern not on the agenda. If you have a public issue of city concern that has not been placed on the agenda, please approach the podium, state your name for the commission and the public, and state your concern.
I'm Carlos Royal. Glad to see you. Sorry I wasn't at the last meeting. I was at the county today. As you probably heard, they took and canceled what we did. And all I'm asking is that you check the letter that you sent to the county and see if it's what you intended. Because what happened at the meeting, right at the last, it got a kind of like nobody knew exactly what was coming from the city. Was it with the corrections that you made, or was it without them? And so what happened was they actually recommended, as I believe it was Natalie, recommended that the assessor's values prior to any of the hearings at the city be used. So that means that all that we went through was for naught. And so, when the Ken was looking at the letter, he says, I have a letter here from the city that says this is what they want. So I'm not sure, because I didn't see that letter. I'm just asking the city to check and see if what you wanted was presented to the county, okay? And thank you for your time and effort, okay?
We'll verify that. Thank you, Mr. Royal.
Good evening, President and council members. My name is Bo Sullivan with Rarig Pacific Company, and the reason I am here is in regards to the recycling containers. So while I'm here, I believe there's a valuable option that the city could see with us. It's a unique situation. Usually we are not the lowest cost provider because we preach we have a lower total cost of ownership. And we're able to do that through two ways: because of our unique warranty process that's unique across the industry, and we have a 2% less breakage in the field compared to our competitors. I also had some clarifications in regard to the bid that surprised me when the document I saw today for the first time was the resin fluctuation. According to the bid amendment, it was stating that's how the bid was going to go moving forward. So we did have a price for that that was adjusted post rollout, anticipating it'd have that fluctuation according to the Chem data for the next 5 years. Also, I understand the concern from council, from Gary, of it's a big project, a lot of eyes are on it. It's an investment for you guys of not only for the project getting rolled out, but it's investment for the next 10 to 20 years operationally and for the residents in the city. And the reason I say that, you're talking about references, and I think it goes to show that we have 35% of the market share in the cart industry of 5 different manufacturers, and there's an annual report that displays that. We also do a lot in Canada. In Toronto specifically, we've had 1.7 million carts distributed. We do the technology, we do all the cart maintenance. We partner with the largest national hauler in Alaska, and across the state of North Dakota, we have 6 different partnerships. In the last year, we've done 3 rollouts, 2 including technology with our A&D distribution, so A&D assembly and distribution. And so I think that goes to show of, yes, we might not have the specific spec you're looking for because we've redesigned our cart to be even stronger by providing a thicker, with injection molding, you can put a thicker area where that cart's gonna get stressed the most. So our design team looks at when that gets collected fully automatedly, which is what you guys are going to, even semi-automatedly, if it gets stressed most in this specific area, we can control that. And so that's where we go to show to provide a lower total cost of ownership, helps you guys decrease your operational costs in the field, and then down the line, post 10 years, helps you guys reduce your capital expenditure. So I believe we can provide this turnkey solution. We're a family-owned business, been in business for going on 105 years. I think an awesome story we always tell is we were Pepsi's Vendor of the Year in 2012. We weren't the lowest provider, but what we did, we provided a direct store delivery system going to convenience stores. It was smaller, allowing them to improve that process, and overall, it allowed them to improve themselves operationally by $10 million. And that's what we go to do in the 11 different industries that we serve. And I hope that in this discussion, we can look at partnering with the city of Dickinson, and I just want to make sure you guys are making the best decision for the city itself and for the residents, because this is a decision that will affect you guys for the next 20 years. So again, appreciate your time, your attention, and I'm open to any questions or concerns.
Any questions?
Mrs. Earl, does any of this information change your recommendation?
Well, I guess we're not committed at the moment, because not at the moment. We did look at RARIG, a couple things that we did note, you know, carts increase, injection mold. You know, I appreciate you coming today. I mean, it was a difficult decision, but we came up with the top 2 carts that I recommended, and that's, you know, that's what we came up with.
And I forgot to mention that we are lower acquisition cost up front by just over $23,000 as well. As I heard earlier, budget's a concern. I think that's of value, and not only that, our total cost of ownership. I guess going back to the warranty, I know there were some questions surrounding that. It's well known in the industry. We have the easiest, simplest process. It is some exposure on our company, but we know we're not going to make a dollar here, a dollar there, because we're going to charge you for wheels, for axles. We're a true one-for-one, meaning if you submit that cart, it's an Excel spreadsheet, you enter that, we don't ask for pictures. It's the benefit of the doubt, and we cover the freight as well. And what's unique, we have 6 different manufacturing plants across the industry, biggest capacity. So it helps you guys less risk on the road and having a plant in Wisconsin and Kansas, and having a better lead time as well too, guys.
We looked at what was on paper, and that's what we decided.
I guess I'm not expecting a decision tonight, but I guess reevaluate and making sure that best decision is made for you guys. Like I said, I respect your decision, and just want to, I thought it was worth my time and effort to get up here from the partnerships we have within the state and what we've been able to do across the country.
I think we all appreciate the information, and we have to make our decisions based upon staff recommendation and the process they go, you know, through. And this, you know, the selection, the bid has been, you know, already accepted, so we accepted the bid.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for your time. And
Thank
if
you.
there's anything I can do to help, be a resource or anything like that, like I said, we have a lot
I would get with our recycling person in the back and Mr. Prouse.
All right. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Anyone else from the public?
Hi, I'm Belinda Schlichting. I live on Main Avenue over by Rosie's. I get a big amount of the noise pollution over there. And I just found out that the Twin Sticks Stadium is allowed to shoot off fireworks. And on Friday, we had some very high winds, and they were shot off, and it really scared me, and I have some clients on the other side of the ballpark that were concerned too. So none of the residents were informed about this. This was news the day that they were shot off. And I have video of the high winds we had. We had them, they started after 5 because I just finished my yard work. Went in, they kicked up, and they didn't stop until about Saturday afternoon before dawn or dark. And I thought there was a firework band around here.
Well, I guess our question would be if, for staff, if they obtained the proper permits for the fireworks.
I was told they were given the permits. They went through the procedures and everything. I called and I think it's, I can't remember his name, Sivak? Sivak. And he said, he called me again today and told me that he spoke to someone who clocked the wind. They have a wind monitor. And from what they're telling me was, I do believe it was 29 miles an hour, and there's no way. And none of the residents in that area, that's a residential area. Those are our homes. And I just can't see where we're letting off fireworks when it's, I don't know, is it high school, college that's going on? If it was a minor league, major league, I can understand the big celebration after if they won a game. But this is going to be every Saturday night till August that we're going to be putting up with this. So this means that I have pets. I have to either make plans to where I get home before 9 o'clock or when the game's over, or make plans after the games, because my dogs go ballistic. I can't speak for everybody else in the area, but it would have been nice if we were informed and asked what our opinion would have been.
Well, thank you for your concerns, and we'll make sure that the staff is doing our part as a city for some awareness in the area, for especially the residents.
Right, because I get, I hear high-speed racing on the street. This is the main avenue. I hear trucks, big mufflers, boom boxes, constantly. Last night, the last one I heard was around 11 o'clock when I finally went to sleep. So I get a lot of noise at my home. I'm right on Main, and I know it's a high.
With the noise, are you filing complaints with the police department?
We have. I made a complaint once, and I was told that I should have known where I bought my home, what the noise would have been. And truthfully, when we bought our home, the resident, the previous owners, kept the windows shut, so we didn't really think about it. And it was at the time of day to where everybody was working. There wasn't that much traffic, but in the afternoons, it's real bad. Real bad. They even go down to Rosie's gas station and pump gas while their speakers are booming. There's a lot of elderly residents there. There's one lady across the street that's 96 years old, and you know, it's really getting out of hand a lot. So now we got to put up with the sound and fire dangers of fireworks every Saturday night till August. Okay?
We'll have staff look into your concerns.
I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you.
Chief Seabach, did you have a comment?
President Decker, Commissioners, I did speak with Belinda a couple of times on the phone. She called the other day expressing concerns, which I believe for her are very legitimate concerns. I'm glad she called and made us aware of her feelings on this. What I can tell you is that we were aware of the winds. Now, what our equipment, Fire Marshal Sully was there during the game. We were concerned about the winds that evening. What our equipment told us the winds were blowing at really is probably a moot point compared to what a person's perception is of how strong the winds were that evening. One of the things that I guess really wasn't on our radar or on anybody's radar within the city structure was whether or not the area was asked about a fireworks permit. The city of Dickinson does ban fireworks except for an exception recognized by the code, which is a public fireworks display. This particular venue meets all the requirements the code asks for a public fireworks display, in the training of their staff and how they shoot it off, in the maps that is given to us, debris drop zones, insurance liability that they are sure that they have covered. All of those requirements are covered. They meet the requisites for a public fireworks display. However, the code also does state that when there is a negative impact to the community, that we do have the ability to stop or rescind a permit. At this point in time, we have reached out to Big Sticks, and I believe there is a representative from them here tonight. We have asked them to cease all fireworks until we can meet with them and we can discuss this and determine how we can move forward in addressing concerns that have been brought forward, because those are important concerns, and we want to make it work all the way around. Just the fact that all the hoops of the code have been jumped through and all of that's been adequately met, I don't think that doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep concerns that come forward in mind and see what we can do to address those. So that's the steps we've taken at this time, and we hope we can work forward to a conclusion that's going to be acceptable and workable for everybody.
Well, thank you.
Very good.
Anyone else from the public? Any concerns?
Hello, my name's Terry Clement. You know, we were here on some evaluations that Joe Hirschfeld pretty much came up with, the changes in evaluations, and everything was sent to Stark County. And it was all approved through here. And Stark County says that now they can override that. I just want to know if that's true.
I think they can make their own determinations on valuations.
I think the county has the final determination. Whether they, what it says in that letter, I don't know. We haven't seen it.
Well, that's all I
Yeah.
ask, is that you check the letter and see if it.
Exactly, yeah. And we'll do that. I mean.
Yeah, we'll check.
If it's an error, it's an error. If it's not, then rest with the county.
Yeah. So when you come,
It's within their power, Mr. Clement.
so when you come here, 2 or 3 meetings or whatever, and you get everything approved, doesn't really mean anything. does it?
No. Comes here.
And it could go to the
County,
state. It could go to the
state.
state and change too.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only way you can get to the state. You gotta come here, go to the
We're
county,
gonna change the state laws.
then you go to the state.
We gotta follow the state.
So, all right.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? There's no one else from the public with any city concern not on the agenda. I'll close the public issues part of the evening, and we'll move on to commissioners. Commissioners, anything for the good of the cause? Nothing from commissioners. I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned.